Party people in the place to be. Live from 58 Dream Street, we're Jameson with Games.
Party people in the place
Oh
to
no,
be.
oh
Live
no,
from 58
oh no.
Dream Street.
We're getting feedback, audio feedback. Alright. Muted the... Sorry about that. I'll try to say things exactly one time for the rest of this stream. And not once, and then again about 5 seconds later. So we're diving in for another round of our 30-minute retro Switch Online reviews today. We're back to NES Online for the next batch of 3, which is going to be tennis. A classic sports game that is not going to show itself well when we compare it back to Super Tennis, which we played last time on the Super Nintendo. And then The Legend of Zelda. And then over here, you can't even see it because I've cropped this thing to full screen. Yoshi. Oh, it's over here. Yoshi. So we're going to dive in 30 minutes per, so 3 times 10 per game. And we're going to talk about them and see if we can have a little fun. So, starting here with NES Tennis, one of the early first generation releases, which you can tell not just by the old school pixelated box art that they did for the first wave of North American NES releases, but also from the fact that it's got a 1983 copyright on it. So we're going to dive in here, and oh, you know what? I completely forgot that this was even a feature. And I forgot in the middle of the last time I was playing this game, because, okay, I'll show you what I mean. Because this is a pretty simple game. We only had a couple options. Let's go back and look at the menu one more time. Singles game and doubles game. Those are the only options. You can play singles by yourself against the computer. You can play doubles with a friend against the computer. They hadn't yet figured out how to control a person on the other side of the tennis net. So when we dive in here, we got 30 minutes on the clock. So let me start that timer. Whoops. Let me start that timer. There we go. The timer is counting. We're going to dive into level 1 for a moment. And because tennis here is pretty simple. We're going to play against opponent 1, and if we beat him, we go to opponent 2, and opponent 3, and then opponent 4, and opponent 5. If we go against opponent 1, part of how they control the difficulty is the extreme slowness of the ball. We dive in, and this is tennis. There's not really all that much to say about the underpinnings of this game, so I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to fill up 30 minutes with riffing here. But let's see what we can do. I'm Blue Dude, as you can imagine. Back then, every sports referee in a Nintendo game vaguely resembled Mario. Even as I say that, I know it's a lie. When we get to baseball, we'll see that the umpire is not clearly Mario. At the other end, we have Green Shirt Dude, the worst Nintendo tennis player in the world. Serving happens automatically. I'm not idly tapping a button. The guy's just popping the ball up every now and then on his own. But I do decide when he hits it. So the height of the ball, obviously, is going to decide sort of the trajectory. And where I choose to stand decides where it goes. And from there, we're playing tennis, baby. The rules are in place. The system is pretty simple. There are only 2 types of hits. Well, actually, that's not quite accurate. 3 types of hits, let's say. Whoops. Gave up a point to Green Shirt Guy this early in the match. Not a sterling sign for my abilities in this talking while playing context. There's a fault. You can see we have rules. This game knows what tennis is all about. And then we play. At level 1, it's both very easy and extremely slow paced. And somehow, while playing this game fairly recently, when I had already conceived that I was going to make this series, I decided nobody wants to watch me play this dude for 30 minutes. So I gotta beat him now and make a save state at the start of dude number 2, which is completely unnecessary, as it turns out, because I can just select to start at dude number 2. But let's go through, let's not play that much against dude number 1, but enough to see him serve, enough to play a set, see what all the little trappings of the game are, and then I'll crank it up and I'll see if I still get it. When I was a kid, I know this was one of the many games that I had access through the 42-in-1 bootleg cartridge that my father bought me for Christmas the same year that I got my NES. My parents, didn't want to buy me a video game console in the first place on account of its great expense. And then when they did buy it, they didn't want to spend a ton of money on games. And they thought, well, if we get this kid 42 games, they'll shut the hell up, right? In practice, it was more like 41. I don't think Duck Hunt was on. Look, we're doing a deuce. All the rules are here. Oops. The direction that you hit the ball in is shown by the orientation of your guy, which is controlled by his relationship to the ball. I was trying to go for an overhand smash, and I botched that one. So, oops. Yeah, on a player one guy, the ball is so small that you can do things like what I just did. Let the ball get past you, and then just scamper backwards and make the save. So, in practice, it was more like 41 games for me, that 42-1. Because it had Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. Was also part of the pack-in cartridge of a NES action set. So there's the other type of shot you can do, which I'll do back to him. A lob. So A button for every hit that's not a lob. So either a volley, backhand, or an overhead smash, which is context dependent. You got to get under the ball. And then what else is there to say? Really, hit B for a lob. Pop it up. I am creating the impression through my sloppy play here that there's more challenge to be had than there actually is. Like I just lost. I probably haven't lost a game to dude number one since I was a wee young lad. But my video game skill just drops away to nothing when I am simultaneously narrating my experience. Something that maybe if I gotta try to do this more regularly, and then maybe I'll get the hang of keeping up a flow of conversation while also keeping my thumbs engaged, and I guess the part of my brain that controls my thumbs. Which lobe is that? Whichever lobe it is, I control it. See, we got some folks watching, so hello, if you're watching. Sound off in the chat if you got anything to say, or even just to say hello. Tell me how you're doing. Ooh. Yeah, I challenged him at the net, and even that was just a little bit beyond me right here. Brutal. Ah. Alright. Okay. I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to preserve my dignity. There we go. It's not too hard to wit this guy once you get the feel. I suppose another thing that might be working against me right now is the fact that after playing Super Tennis, the last time I was doing these, I decided, I want to play more Super Tennis while not speaking out loud and actually get the hang of it. And so I dove back into that and actually started to get the feel. I picked it up. I even won an entire match in the circuit mode of Super Tennis, a fancy mode that is far beyond the depth that is contained in this much more primitive early sports game. And having done that, I guess I got my brain into that mode. So maybe part of it is my go-to excuse, the narration challenge. Whoops. Yeah. And part of it is my other go-to excuse, orienting my brain to something else. That's actually usually only an excuse I use for Mario, because I do love all the Mario games, and I play them all quite a bit. And I have often had difficulties just adjusting to, as Mario's physics changes between games, when he's not out there just reffing or umpire. What do they call that? What's the tennis official? I think it's an umpire, but maybe it's a referee. I have no idea. It's really not important. Oh my goodness. Oh my. Maybe I do need to play this. Nah, I can't play this guy right through the entire game. It's too slow paced. It's just not it's just not what it's not the most exciting foot that tennis puts forward. Because ultimately, there's not a lot to this game, but it also pretty much creates the template for every other tennis game. There are tennis games that, bring in a bit of a fantasy angle. The Mario tennis games, also by Nintendo, an obvious example. Crazy, tricky shots, weird courts, unrealistic levels of spin. Some of the characters can fly, all this stuff. And then there's obviously more simulation-based tennis games that really try to get into the nitty-gritty. And yet, they're all pretty much just this, aren't they? Like, maybe some mild... There are probably some additional complexities to the rules of tennis that I don't appreciate because, like, I imagine a lot of young men my age, I learned a lot of the rules to the major sports from the Nintendo games based on those major sports. And tennis is no exception. But broadly speaking, you know, what you're getting with subsequent generations of tennis games is just more fleshing out of the surrounding stuff. When you're actually playing the tennis, well, I guess the other big thing is that as you get more buttons, you get more shot types, drop shots, and, you know, top spin, backspin, all that. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've ever even seen a tennis game that doesn't use this orientation, the vertical orientation. Although, eventually, they crack the secret kind of consistent play control for the two different perspectives. So you can switch courts, be on the other side, or you can play two players against each other. Yeah, you see, once you get your feet under you, you're just running away with it. And I lost that first game, and now I'm just stomping through this dude and just making a fool out of him. Poof. There we go. Yet another point for the kid. This was something, you know what? I even said when I was playing Super Tennis, I said, I'm going to look up the history of why tennis scoring is so weird. Like, why did... I got to assume that tennis originates as a British game. Just because the scoring is weird. And I associate that with British people, I guess because a British nobleman invented cribbage, which itself is a game with just random wacky rules. I always suspect the rule in cribbage where when you turn up a card, if it's a jack, you get to move one. And specifically, the concrete explanation is that's 1 point for his knobs. I've always kind of just figured that the nobleman who invented cribbage was just, you know, he's just bored and making up a game. Boom, net. You can even hit the net. The game is somehow tracking the Z. Well, not somehow. It's actually not too hard to, I imagine, even in 2 dimensions to track a Z value in addition to an XY coordinate. And I've always figured that dude was just, you know, he was with his wife. They were bored. Maybe they were at their vacation home, their country home. For whatever reason, they were bored. He was making up a game, and the jack came up, and, you know, he needed one more point in the situation. He said, well, there, I have a point. And she was like, what are you talking about? And she said, well, the jack's a point. What? Why is the jack a point, love? It's for his knobs, dear. But yeah, I meant to just read. Why does tennis scoring go 15, 30, 40, win, and they call 0 love? Because I really don't know. And I said, when I was doing Super Tennis, I said, we'll talk about that when we come back to tennis. And we'll find out. And I'll share that knowledge with you. And I failed. So, what I'm going to do, my pledge to you, the viewer, that it seems even less likely that I'll remember. The back-to-back tennis games was probably my opportunity, but Smash Tennis is coming up later in the Super Nintendo portion of Switch Online. We'll review that then. So perhaps by that point, I will have learned the secrets of the history of tennis scoring, which probably aren't any big secret. They're probably right there on the Wikipedia page. But I'll learn those, and we'll chat about that then. This is coming along pretty well. I've got this game under control, but you can see why it's also kind of, at this point, once you've got the hang of it, playing dude number 1 is not that fun. I'm going to win the first set, or we'll get to 15 minutes either way, and then let's crank up the difficulty, and we'll find out what the other guys are. Because it's not like there aren't really any other modes to explore. Like, there's doubles, and doubles means there's 2 guys, and you need a second player. I don't have one. to play doubles. And then the only other rule difference when you switch to doubles is that those doubles lanes are no longer out. They even correctly simulated that rule. Yeah, I know, I'm 100% sure as a child I was able to beat 1, 2, and 3, and I'm pretty sure I've beaten guy number 4, and I do not think I ever managed to beat 5. Even as a young man. And when I was a kid, I've already won a set. I'm beating this guy so hard that I just lost track. Okay, I'll go to 15 minutes, and then we'll test out the other difficulties. So when I was a kid, I could pour infinite time into any game. I had no conception that, it took me a while to figure out, some games are good and some games are bad. So I had that 42-1, and I would just pour time into anything. And that included tennis. And yet, I never managed to beat that guy. Another game I remember pouring a lot of time into trying to beat was Duck Hunt. I thought, eventually, there's got to be a victory screen where the dog finally respects you or something. I don't know. I can remember, getting so deep into Duck Hunt that, you get far enough in Duck Hunt and you can't afford to miss a single duck on the screen, and the ducks just shoot at the bush and fly away very, very quickly. So at that point, if you're a kid, you've got the NES zapper pressed against your CRT television, which can actually detect the NES zapper. Only 80s kids will understand, or 90s kids, as it were, what it was like to have a NES zapper that worked. Because if you find a way to hook your Nintendo Entertainment System up to your flat screen TV, that light gun is not going to work for you anymore, regrettably. All right, we hit the 15-minute mark. Let's reset and let's take on dude number 2 for just a little bit. We'll take them all on for a little, so we can see how the difficulty advances. Part of it, obviously, you can already see this is a much better game just by moving to guy number 2, because it's not just that the AI is a little bit smarter. You notice this guy isn't already just bumbling into the ball and messing up easy shots. He's not as easily outwitted, but also just the speed of the ball picks up. If you were looking at guy number 1 when I was playing on the most basic difficulty and thinking, man, the processing power back then, if you're a young person, you're thinking, oh, games are so primitive, they couldn't even make the ball move fast. No, the ball can move fast. And this was on the Nintendo Entertainment System. They didn't even have the blast processing of the Genesis, which is not a thing. It's just a marketing term. And yet the ball moves quickly. The game is more fun. This guy's a little bit better at tennis. I've apparently given up a point, but I'm so in the zone saying things aloud that I didn't even notice when he won a point. But for the most part, I'm doing pretty good here. Another fault. Bonked the ball off him. He stands there like a dummy. Making you feel like your opponent's a real person was not part of the objective in making this game. I wonder, and I don't even have a theory, but when I think about it, like I was saying, every tennis game I've ever played uses this vertical orientation, but I think every volleyball game I've ever played was horizontal. I'm not sure that that's true. There could be exceptions to those rules, but I wonder why that is. I don't know if I can get there from first principles. I mean, I don't even know if it's true, but just thinking about it, maybe, is it just the net height? You just wouldn't have a clear enough sense of what's going on the other side? That might be part of it. And part of it might be that... Oh, and then, obviously in tennis, forehand, backhand's a big thing. So being able to line your dude up on the left with the racket and on the right would also be fairly essential to the game. So maybe that's it. Maybe we've solved the puzzle. I would love it if Nintendo would get Super Spike V-Ball, the greatest volleyball video game of all time. on to if they could work out a deal with who would have the rights to that. Is it the company that's? I think it. I can't think of their name. The company that makes. They made River City Girls recently. Like they own the rights to the Technos Japan Core license, so they must have the rights to Super V-Ball, Super Spike V-Ball. Bring it back, gang. Super Spike V-Ball. And it just very fun game. Excellent music. This is not the kind of thing that a 36-year-old man with a respected professional job is probably supposed to be saying publicly, but I was just listening to the Super Spike V-Ball soundtrack the other day, and that was a fun exchange. Bing, bing, bing. He won the game. I won a game, but I don't feel ashamed of losing the game. And just like the fact that the computer is good enough to get things like that happening, and then you can respond to them. Turning up the difficulty does make the game more fun here. We'll find out if there's a cap to that statement as we advance forward. We're at one game each, so let's call this the tiebreaker. I'm such a sportsman that I'm proclaiming this is, whoever wins this game wins when I'm already down one. But I was very confident that I was going to fix that quickly. Yeah, so Super Spike V-Ball, the thing that really makes it for me, just like, is really fun. Actually, the really fun thing is the most important, and the music is probably the second most important. But one thing that always sticks in my head is that there are 4 teams you can play as, and then a number of other teams you can compete against, AI teams that you can't play as. But the teams that you can play as literally include Billy and Jimmy, the double dragons, Billy and Jimmy Lee. Like, because those are Techno's characters. They own them. They can do what they want with the license. And I thought that was cool when I was a kid. Now that I'm older, I'm more aware of the fact that, oh, hey, I won the game. All right, let's find out what level 3 is like. Now when I'm older, I think about things like that, and I think Double Dragon is set in like a dystopian future where like the law and order is broken down in the cities, and like a near future. It's not like super sci-fi, but it is supposed to be in the future. And that is not the sense that you get from Super Spike V-Ball. So are we supposed to believe that Billy and Jimmy Lee are time travelers? Or that it's just one dystopian city somehow? I mean, I guess that could happen, especially since it's an American city. Now look how fast that ball is moving. Whoo! We're picking up the pace as we raise the difficulty. Although I was just as much outplayed by my own divided attention there, I think, than the AI. I don't necessarily think that the AI has overcome me completely just yet. But, whew, yeah. He didn't want the smoke on that. So, yeah. These are going to be the challenging ones. I mean, I only got to do this for 8 minutes and 45 more seconds. But some NES games are very simple. And then it gets a little bit tougher to say things. I am reasonably sure that this is a Miyamoto game. I'm not positive about that, so don't quote me on that. But I know some of the first generation NES sports games are Miyamoto games, which is pretty cool. He is, obviously, Miyamoto-san isn't even really taking the lead on any games anymore that I'm aware of. Maybe the Pikmin games still, but I'm not even sure about that. Back then, it was like, do a little Mario, do a little tennis or soccer or baseball or whatever. Just keep them coming. Make your Devil World game. Just crank them out. You're our ace in the hole, Shigeru. And you gotta keep them coming. Keep the money train flowing. Especially because I do not believe that Hiroshi Yamauchi, the president of Nintendo at the time, I don't think he would have been too worried about like stretching themselves thin with quality or anything. He was not. From none of my understanding of Hiroshi Yamauchi is that tells me that he cared much at all about video games. Certainly not about he wanted them to be good so that his company would have a good reputation. But I don't think that he was deeply invested in making sure the gamers got value. Oof. Yeah, I gave that one up for free. That was an unforced error. And not even a distraction error. Jumbo Wappa, buddy, I am still not catching your streams live. But hello, I did manage to swing by. I like made not literal notes. I wasn't like taking notes on things I could tell you about, but I was taking notes so that I could say concrete things about your streams, so that it doesn't just sound like I'm saving face here. I watched 2 of your drawing ones because I am eternally fascinated by people who can draw. So I watched you draw in Spawn and I watched you draw in Spider-Man, and both of those were fun. And I'm like, whoa, because I mean, you've seen the majority of my artwork because it's like this little picture of me up here, right? And well, I've done a few other things, but they're all basic pixel art like that. But if you watched me doing them, that would not be good content because I'm just like agonizing over every pixel, and I like put it down. And I'm like, I don't know. I better go look at some more references. Let's just undo that and come back. Hey, it was many times better than any Spider-Man I could ever do. Although, you know what? I was reading an article about the a retrospective history of Spider-Man games fairly recently, and there we go. Won a game against difficulty level number 3. I'm going to do one more, see if I can tie it up, and then we'll go to difficulty level number 4 as time runs out. So there's this old PC Spider-Man game that was played from like a super zoomed out perspective. So Spider-Man was like an extremely low pixel sprite, and yet it looked like the article said something about how, like, obviously this wasn't a great Spider-Man game. Look at the tiny little like low quality sprite. And I looked at it and thought, for the number of pixels, like, that's incredible. You look at that and you're like, hey, it's Spider-Man, and it's like probably like 12 pixels or something, some ridiculously low number like that. Anyway, so yeah, I watched some of your drawing. I watched you playing a karaoke game, and I want to be very, very careful with my words here, because what I'm about to say is not a criticism of you. It's actually a commentary on my own physical health. But so let me actually start with the thing about me, which is that I have a very bad like set of larynx and vocal cords. So my voice, I blow it out really easily. It is even just sometimes I've had days especially in the past before I had a lot of vocal training so that I'm projecting properly. Whoa, now we're going lightning fast. At this level, now the game actually is kind of struggling to render the ball. It almost seems like it's juddering a bit as it moves. And it gets a lot better. Yeah, so my larynx, is real bad. And to the point that I've had occasions in my life where like a friend came over and I opened up the door and I said, hello. And like saying hello to my friend like blew out my voice and like my throat hurt for days. So I had all this training so that I'm constantly trying to be aware that I'm not talking with or singing or anything with my voice down here. I'm trying to keep it up here. And it's been a lifesaver because my job involves talking a lot. And then in my social life I talk. And then also now I do this. So for my hobby, I'm just sitting in a room talking. And so I watched your video and like, and yeah, I can't even remember what song you were singing, but you were singing like right in your throat. Like, it was, and it wasn't whether the singing was good or bad. It was just that like most people, you shouldn't do that for like long periods of time, but most people can do it for some time and it's not gonna like kill them. But for me, even just like listening to someone else do it, I was like, oh no, I'm in pain, sympathetic pain. And then at the end of that one, you were like, the last thing you did, you were like, all right, let's raid. And I'm so new to Twitch that like I'm just learning what raids are, and so it hadn't even occurred to me until I heard you say that obviously most people probably do their raids at the end of their stream, obviously, because you're sending your whole audience somewhere else. So I saw you doing that, and then I was like, oh, hey, Chumbawampa raided us recently. I bet I could find that video and see him say, let's go raid Dream Street. And so I went and I looked it up. And then, you get to the end of your stream and you're like, all right, let's raid. And then you start looking at your list, let's see who's active. And you went, oh, 58 Dream Street. This guy's cool. I was like, aw, thanks, man. Felt nice. I suppose I was taking a big risk there. There's always the chance that 58 Dream Street. Jeez. I try to be polite to this guy, but he's a real turd. I really appreciate that, man. I really enjoy doing the streaming. Man, dude number 4 is kicking my ass. Partially just because I am off the rails. Not even talking about the game makes it even worse at concentrating, which doesn't matter. There's nothing left to say about tennis for the NES. So I'll just get my ass kicked a little bit more by guy number 4, briefly get my ass kicked by guy number 5, and we'll move on to the next game. Yeah, I'm only on it very, very occasional times. Normally right now we'd be doing our Gloomhaven stream, except my buddy is had a staff party, and they extended our state of emergency, and we all thought, oh great, so we're going to be able to do this, because you told us you got to cancel if the state of emergency is lifted because we'll have our staff party, and then the state of emergency didn't get lifted because we're seeing some community spread, Delta, and then he was like, they've decided to do an outdoor party, which seems wild to me because like September now, so it's dark at night, and risk of it's been super humid lately, so there's always a chance it's going to start raining. All right, I'm going to play this game seriously. I want to win this game against dude number 4. I don't know that I can, but I would like to. And then, well, my time ran out, but I'll play a few points against guy number 5 just so we can see what it's like. And then we've seen NES Tennis. It's not like there are no Easter eggs I'm aware of. There is no secret mode. There is nothing to this game but 5 opponents of varying difficulties and then 5 doubles teams of the exact same difficulties and same colors. Unforced errors like that are not going to pick me up a win. Driving back with the lob. Okay. I'm in control now. This is my point to lose. Well, it was for a moment. And then he outwitted me. Well played, number 4. It's not just the speed that makes it harder. They do... okay, fine. I can't beat guy number 4. Let's see how bad guy number 5 can swap me around. You know what? The ball... Actually, no. The ball is still ever yet faster. You can barely see what's going on. Actually, that is going too far. But you're clearly... like, we're not seeing all the frames of the tennis ball anymore. Ugh. Yeah. Anyway, this is like very simple, very solid game. Like, I don't know why you would play it on Switch Online if you could just go to the SNES app and play Super Tennis or Smash Tennis. Let alone if you had a more modern tennis game, because this established the template, and every other tennis game is like this, but with more stuff in it. But for everyone like me who was down since day one, the old people, no matter how fresh-faced and young we still kind of look, there's a lot of nostalgia value there. Great game. So, let's reset the clock. And we're going to dive in to the Legend of Zelda. This one, the challenge here, of course, is similar to the challenge with doing Mario 1 and Mario 3. The challenge is... What is there for me to say about this game that other people don't? Do I have anything new to offer about Legend of Zelda? Probably not. Oh, man. Yeah, I saw your I saw a bit of the video where you were talking about that. That is, man, neighbors, messy neighbors. You know, that's what. Have you ever seen Arrested Development? It's now a classic sitcom, which is a little disturbing to me, but it's like the two Lucille's, and Lucille Bluth is like slamming her doors, letting go, "Whore!" just randomly because she's mad at her neighbor. Like, you don't want to get up in the face of a couple in the middle of a domestic dispute, so it's gotta be the passive aggression. So here we are, Legend of Zelda, one of the, fundamental games of all time. The template not only for a long-running beloved series that remains at the top of the action-adventure genre to this day, but also just a game that many, many, many other games, including games by Nintendo, but also games by other companies, smash the door and then put it back together and start smashing it again. You gotta yeah, you can't take it lying down. Yeah. They're gonna make your life difficult. Make it as difficult for them. Yeah. Yeah. Go for the sturdier doors. Yeah. So this, I don't know when I acquired this. How old I was? I must have been 6. I want to say that I got this. Oh, I didn't start the timer. My goodness. And I adjusted the screen a bit on the set timer screen, but not the go timer screen. So now my camera judders around. I can't buy something, man. I got no rupees. This, yeah. So I think exactly 1 year after I acquired a Nintendo Entertainment System, I think is when I got this game. I'm not 100% sure about that, but it seems right. Christmas of 1991. And what a game. I mean, like, it was, in a sense, I suppose it was dated by then, but you couldn't have convinced me that was true. Because this is just it's a wonderful game, and it's a game that by now, I just know like the back of my hand. Like, I'm on my way to the first dungeon, no hesitation, because I know where it is. We have a very simple control scheme that, with iteration and with advancement as we get more buttons, will pretty much hold for the entire series, which is that we have one button dedicated to our sword, one button dedicated to items, although at this point in the game, don't have any items. And I get out here, and I just start messing with people. These are, I can even remember a lot of these weird enemies' names. Those are levers. Like, even the ones that didn't stick around for the rest of the series. Octoroks, these guys stuck around. But, like, levers, Tektites, I don't know that they did. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's the talking out loud thing. Gets you killed. When you're trying to say things. But that's fine. We got 30 minutes, and honestly, I could probably have 30 minutes of fun walking clumsily towards the first dungeon and getting slapped down by my enemies. I am very fortunate in my place, Chamawapa, to have good neighbors right now. I guess an older lady moved in across the hall from me, and she smokes, which is not great. Like, I mean, I live in Canada, so, like, if you live in an apartment building in an area where there are a lot of students, there's always weed smoke wafting through your windows and stuff. But tobacco smoke is just a much more troubling smell. I don't mind weed smoke. I guess if I'm trying to work, I don't want to be smelling a bunch of weed. But tobacco smoke is horrible. And so the older lady across the hall from me smokes a lot, and that is a bit of a drag because she has a balcony, but she must sometimes just, I mean, she's not that old, but, like, she's probably old enough that sometimes she's like, I just want to sit in my easy chair, have a cigarette, and, like, fine. It's not a non-smoking building. She's not breaking the rules. But, yeah, It's one of those things that it's crazy now to think that, like, even when I was a kid, people just smoked wherever when they wanted. You know, you went to the Tim Hortons, our popular chain of mass market cafes, and they just had everybody smoking everywhere. And then for a long time when I was a kid, every Tim Hortons was divided in half and had a smoking room. What the hell? Yeah, like, and you know, every time someone had to, yeah, like, my goodness, like, you're not just smoking. You're smoking, and then you're smoking your own secondhand smoke, and you're smoking the secondhand smoke of all these people around you. And, like, I'm sure there was ventilation, but there wasn't so much ventilation. And of course, people would open the door to come out, which they have to do. Can't hold that against them. But then, so yeah, the rest of the place smells like cigarettes. Wild how far our society has come. But yeah, you smoke inside. When you have a balcony, I can't understand it. Because, I mean, I guess if you're smoking a lot, you probably don't have a strong sense of smell. So maybe you don't recognize how bad your home smells. But just like everything, tobacco smoke just clings. You know? Even if the lady across the hall was just blazing up in her apartment, you know, smoking weed all day, which you can do. This is Canada. That wouldn't be so bad. I could live with that. And also, when she moved out, they could just open the windows for a day and it'd be fine. It doesn't work that way with tobacco smoke. Tobacco smoke is terrible. Besides that, though, I have good neighbors. The only noise issue I've had with my neighbors recently, and it's not really an issue, but my next door neighbor on, that doesn't matter what side, on one side of my apartment, he's an opera singer. So every now and then, he's doing it, like, I do my vocal warm-ups in the shower, and I sometimes think about him hearing them, and I'm like, man, I sound pitiful next to this guy, especially because, like, to keep my voice functioning properly, I work my falsetto a lot to keep working on keeping my voice up here, so I'm doing lots of high notes, and they're not, like, really strong high notes. And then this dude just thunderous, bassy, impressive, like, the warm-ups are incredible, and then he starts actually singing, it's incredible. When he has parties, which he doesn't do that often, but when he does, there's usually a lady opera singer, must be his friend or perhaps his performance partner. Maybe he's a music student at a local university, I don't know. But so she's there, so he's singing bass and she's singing soprano, and they're doing duets and stuff. It's obviously super noisy, but it's way better than a couple fighting. Like, it's beautiful. Just sometimes it's like, I kind of want to sleep. So we're in the first dungeon. I'm trying to think, what could I say that would help anybody who didn't already know Zelda understand it? I mean, the goal of the game is to go to 8 dungeons and get the Triforce pieces there, and then go to the 9th dungeon. Or is it 7 dungeons and then the 8th dungeon? At any rate, do all the dungeons, and at the end of the last dungeon, you will fight Ganon. What song did you sing? Was it... I know that I know Radio Gaga by Queen, but it's not a Queen song that I can call to my head instantly. Like, if I put it on, it would all come back to me all at once. But right off the top of my head, I can't think of what it sounds like. It's weird. There's also tons of Queen songs I just don't know. I've never really gotten into the deep Queen cuts, so I know, like, all the hits, like everybody does. But that's not one that just springs right to mind for me. But I will, at some point this weekend, I will listen to the actual song and I'll go check out yours. See how you did. Now, I do want to mention this, psychochronographically. I remember when I was a kid, I thought that, because look, if you stab the old man, his fire starts shooting at you. And I must have stabbed him once. And then when his fire started shooting at me, I thought, oh, he's a bad guy. I also didn't understand what the hell he was saying. Eastmost Peninsula is the secret? Yeah, that's what it's like for a normal person. Like, your voice just gets a little worn out, and then you rest, and it comes back. For me, it's like, if I do the same thing, I'm in, like, physical pain, and then it persists for days, and I lose the ability to sing in the sense that I can no longer even modulate. So like I can't hit the notes. Yeah, so I thought that this dude here was an enemy you're supposed to defeat. And so I spent so much time as a child, not like, this was like one night when I only just recently had the game, running around like this and trying to get up, get hits on him, get back. You can't kill him, and you're not supposed to. He's a wise old man who's trying to help you. And then this would happen. Our get game over. I remember my older cousins who already had an S being over, and me being like, how do I beat this old man? And they were like, oh wow, and they didn't actually know this particular game, and so they didn't have any advice, and they were just like, give it a shot. Kept trying and trying and trying, and eventually, like, I was a kid, in my defense. It took me a while to just realize there's another direction I can go in. I should probably just go in that direction. Now, puzzles will get way more sophisticated in the Zelda series. What we're dealing with at this stage in Zelda 1, and especially in the first quest, because one thing about Zelda, but the original Zelda, is that, and many Zeldas, is that there's a Master Quest mode that's more difficult, but where in, say, something like Ocarina of Time or Skyward Sword or Breath of the Wild, Master Quest is just like expert mode, like just ramps up the difficulty. Master Quest in this game entirely new set of dungeons, and they're remixed on the world map. So like where they are is different, and the order in which you get the magic items is different. And I didn't learn this until I learned this when I was in my 30s, because I never got far on the Master Quest as a kid. It introduces new mechanics, like there are walls you can just walk through, and nothing in the game tells you that. There's no hint in the Master Quest to say, hey, there are walk-throughable. You can walk through some walls now. So I was never gonna get anywhere in the Master Quest when I was a kid. So yeah, like here you push the thing, pops open. That's a lot of what we got puzzle-wise in Legend of Zelda. Find the block that you can push to open a thing. Figure out where the key is so you can open the key. And eventually we'll get bombs. When you got bombs, you can blow up some walls. Got a key. Getting killed. Even my enemies that are really, really easy. Goraya's here. Whew. That was a close shot, but I evaded him. Gorayas are another enemy who still pop up in Zelda games from time to time. Not like levers and tektites, which I remember principally both because I loved to read instruction manuals when I was a kid. And back then, instruction manuals would give you a little picture of like every enemy and tell you a thing or two about them. And then also there's a somewhat famous, Master Hand. Master Hand was already terrifying here in the original Zelda, and only gets scarier in subsequent Zeldas when it's dropping from the ceilings and when the dungeons are much bigger, because Master Hand's gimmick is he grabs you, takes you back to the start. Not fun. The boomerang can only damage the very small enemies that can be split off from larger enemies. So you can damage a small gel, or you can damage a bat, because bats subdivide out of... I don't feel like I'm going to survive this room unless I play smart, which I'm unlikely to do while trying to talk. But who knows? Maybe I can pull it off. Yeah, there are these devil enemies whose actual... their names escape me. Who split into two bats. So you can kill a bat with a boomerang. You can kill a gel with the boomerang. You cannot kill anything else. Traps. Even though the spike traps are fairly easy to evade and don't do any special amount of damage to you, the bow. we're getting a lot of items in the very first dungeon. Although every dungeon has one, official item, it would eventually kind of become standard Zelda system. You get one new magic item per dungeon. But here we're getting loaded. We got the bombs. All the bombs will stop being a magic item and start being a thing that you just get. Actually, they're not even a magic item here. What am I talking about? You can buy bombs at a shop in this game at any point. But back here, you might just encounter more than one thing in a dungeon. I think that the old man, in addition to not being an enemy and thus foiling me repeatedly, I think like for one evening of my childhood, kill these dudes with the boomerang in the hopes that one of them drops a heart, because I just don't see myself defeating the enemy, the boss, whose name is escaping me. He's just like a dragon, but I can't remember all the names. The dragon boss, Gleeok? Gleeok is the three-headed dragon boss. Whatever the dragon boss at the end of this dungeon is not mentioned in the somewhat internet famous Nintendo Zelda rap commercial. I can do it. I can do the whole thing. Picture some dorky white kid. So you can't picture me, right? Can't be a cool white kid. But picture some dorky white kid in the 80s. Can I do this? Can I do this without taking a single hit? Running up to him. Right. While doing the Zelda rap. It's the Legend of Zelda and it's really rad. The creatures from Ganon are pretty bad. Octoroks, Tactites, and Levers too. But with your help, our hero pulls through. Wiki wiki wick! The kid, literally, that's part of the song. The kid going wiki wiki wick at the end. Extremely dorky. Like, I gotta assume that, because it was the 80s. I was close. It was the 80s. I gotta assume that kid got horribly bullied after that commercial came out, but hopefully not. But it was extremely dorky. So that old man, in addition to... I've not seen that South Park. Wiki Wiki Wild West. That's great. I've watched so little South Park since like the first season. Like I was all in on the first season and then I just kind of fell out on it. So every now and then someone shows me a later episode. And some of them have been quite funny, and a lot of them it's the speeches during the period of, like, from what I understand, South Park has gotten away from this in recent years, and it wasn't like this at the start. But there was definitely a period in there where, like, whenever someone showed me a South Park episode for, like, several seasons, it would end with Stan or Kyle, one of them, just, like, being like, alright, and now, here's a speech summing up the message that Trey Parker wants you to get from this episode. And it was like, man, this is telling me rather than showing me, to an extreme degree. That old man, I've started this sentence many times, but I'll finish it now. In addition to not being a boss, just being an old man who doesn't want to be stabbed by the young Hylian boy who he's trying to help. So causing me trouble like that. Notice how, like, I am on the eastmost peninsula of the dungeon. I think if I'd spammed that last stab, I would have won. Damn. Okay. Gonna come in again. Yeah, they did. Not only repetitive, but like preachy. It's bad art. You know, like I can't remember a time where I watched one of those South Park episodes and Stan or Kyle, whichever one, started doing the speech at the end, and I thought, oh, that's what the point was. I didn't get that just from watching the episode and understanding how plots work. You know, like, South Park is often effective satire, but it's never subtle satire. You should not need a detailed explanation. of the point that Trey Parker was trying to make in the episode. Yeah, so... My goodness. Okay. I gotta do it. So, yeah, the boss is at the eastmost peninsula. Like, because surely the old man was talking about this dungeon. The boss is right before you see the blinking room, because the compass item shows me where the Triforce piece is in the dungeon. So the boss is right in front of it. And so that's the eastmost peninsula of the dungeon. It's not a secret. It's just the thing. I mean, maybe that's what he's supposed to say. Eastmost peninsula has the Triforce. But I'm skeptical that that's like... I bet that's a bad translation. I bet that in Japanese, that old man gives some kind of actually helpful hint. But here he's just saying something and it means nothing. It's no help at all. Which was a common issue in adventure-type games and their translations when brought stateside or to the West, I guess I should say. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think the real way to fight this boss is not to try to finesse it, but to just get in there and just spam hits on him. Yeah, that did the trick. And that's surely what I always normally do, because I don't recall losing that thing for a long, long time. But it's not necessarily, it's not super easy to fight. Tactically. Super easy to fight getting there with full hearts and just getting up there and mashing the button on him. Anyway, yeah, this game was revelatory to people at the time. It's non-linear after a fashion. There are some dungeons that you need to do before others. There, some things that you need to access certain areas and so forth. But broadly speaking, it dumps you into this fairly large world. And, you can see from that dot on the map, it's a lot of screens. I don't remember the exact number of screens. And then you go nuts and you gotta find those dungeons. Some of them are absolutely crazy how they're hidden. And they depended a lot back then on the playground effect. People, I'm gonna go get healed up because that was dumb of me to take those hits. Or I'm gonna die, which will also give me some hearts back. I guess I'm happy either way. Rely a lot on, the exchange of knowledge, because we all loved Zelda. Anyone who had a Nintendo, which is what we called it back then, we didn't say Nintendo Entertainment System. Anyone who had one loved this game, and so we would exchange information. And so you would find out through osmosis. Like someone would read it in Nintendo Power or something. Oh, there's the health. Didn't even need to go to the fairy spring. Just had to find a fairy in the wild. And yeah. Let me finish the playground thought. So yeah, like there's a dungeon that you access by going to a pond and playing the flute, and then the pond dries up. But you would, you would eventually probably bumble on that because we had a lot of tolerance to just plug away at a single game and experiment with things, because your parents weren't going to buy you a bunch more games. And especially if it was a really, really good game. Hey, Fairy Spring. I was heading towards one when I went to backtrack to the one that I was 100% sure where it was. Go up here again. Oh, thanks, but I don't need your help again. And my least favorite dungeon location in the base game, in the main quest, is one of them is just under a tree. And eventually there's a candle item. And you can use the candle item, and it will burn down some trees. Like, if you use the candle on the right tree, it will disappear, and there's a secret. And most of those secrets are just like, it's a shop with different prices, or it's a guy who gives you money and says, hey, it's a secret to everyone. Then there's one that's a prank on you, where you burn it down, and then it's an old man inside, and he takes your money and says, you have to pay for my door. That tree was my door, and you burned it down. You horrible man. And then there's one that's a dungeon. And it's just out there in the world. Can't buy anything, dude. At the moment. You need the arrow in order to use the bow. See, if I go to my status screen right now, I can't select the bow. It just appears as a bow. It eventually appears a bow and arrow if I purchase that arrow, which I don't have enough rupees for. If I did have enough rupees and I bought the arrow, I wouldn't have an ammunition supply. You might look at, if you haven't played this game, and see the blank line between the rupees and the keys there. Think, that's where the arrows will appear. No. In this game, your ammunition is actually rupees. Every arrow that you shoot just takes one of your currency away. It's strange, and you know they worked past that pretty early on in the history of the series. So yeah, just one of these trees, and no hints. Not even a hint that says a dungeon is hidden beneath a tree. Victory in that fight. Good tactical fighting on my part. I believe that I'm making my way to Dungeon 2. But on the way, I think I'll reveal a secret. It's a secret to everyone. To everybody. A friendly Moblin hooks me up with 30 rupees. I can almost buy an arrow. I'm not heading towards the first dungeon at all. I'm lost. I mean, I'm not lost. I recognize this. There's not a screen in this game that doesn't ring a bell, but I blew right past the second dungeon. Let's see if I can find it before time runs out. So, one tree, gotta burn it up. Yes, I can. It's right up here. Number 2. Let's check out dungeon number 2. Why not? And just one tree, and when there's an upgraded candle you can get that has unlimited uses, but the base candle you can only use once per screen, and then you gotta leave the screen and come back. So even if you know that you're looking for a tree to burn down, and even if you knew exactly what screen it's on, it's still a pain in the ass because it's a very foresty screen that tree is on. And you just have to, by trial and error, if you don't have the magic candle, just one at a time try all the trees, and you might easily forget which ones you've tried. Wouldn't be hard. These snakes, their official name is rope. I remember that. And they're a great source of hearts. They tend to drop hearts more than other enemies. I'm trying to think if I have any tidbits, technical tidbits about this game that might be interesting to share. Ah, here's one, I guess. Every screen in this game is, even though you can look at it, you can see it's tile-based. That's not actually how they're created or how the data is stored, because this was obviously very early in the NES's history, and chipsets, you know, they would advance chipsets even for the NES to have more and more storage as they got closer to the end of its life cycle, and to just keep being able to push games forward a little bit before they had new hardware. And they weren't there yet. And so for this game, with its extreme, like, there's a lot of screens. You saw how big the map is. There are 8 dungeons. Then there's a very, only minimal, whoa. Every now and then, that's a thing. Dungeon room where when you kill the right one, I don't know if that was a glitch or if that's a thing. I think it's a thing where you kill the like captain. Not that you can tell who's the captain. They all just die instantly. But yeah. So for the number of maps and distinct screens that they wanted to have in this game, it wasn't possible for the cartridge or for the disc, because this was a Famicom Disk System game in Japan. It was not possible to store all that data in tiles. You couldn't store it tile by tile. For this screen, arrange these tiles in this order. Instead, every screen in this game is built out of columns. Like a column of tiles in a particular arrangement. And then to make different configurations, they have to use different top to bottom columns of tiles. For anyone at home, Chomo just asked me, what's the purpose of the bow when your sword has a ranged attack? And that's actually that's a good question. Basically, when you have full hearts, your sword shoots a beam. But if you take any damage at all, your sword can't shoot anymore. So then the bow is supplementing you. However, it costs a rupee per, so I don't personally, I never have and probably never will, I never made much use of the bow. There are certain enemies that you must basically use the bow to fight, and I'd bust it out then. You need the bow to fight Ganon at the end. But otherwise, yeah, I'm a boomerang man myself, as far as a ranged weapon. Whew. Well, we're running out of time. Dodongo dislikes smoke. Now that's a decent hint. The secret to beating the boss, Stimpinski! How now? Yes, we're on NES games today. It would break British's heart, I think, if he got here on Saturday and I said, while you were sleeping last night, my friend, here's what happened. Almost out of time here, but I want to fight. Almost out of time with this game, and then we're going to go to Yoshi, which is not a game that I remember being great. I'm officially out of time, but let me show you how Dodongo dislikes smoke is a slightly better hint, than Eastmost Peninsula has the secret when there's no secret in the Eastmost Peninsula. So we see this dude. He's like a Triceratops. He's coming along. His weakness is if you feed him the bombs. You can't just set bombs off on him. You gotta get them in his mouth. So Dodongo dislikes smoke kind of works. The, explosions give off smoke. And if they're right inside him, he definitely isn't gonna like that. It doesn't make that much sense. It's not the most intuitive, right? Because what Dodongo really dislikes is having his insides exploded. And if the old man just said that, boom, we get it instantly. Alright, time's up. Legend of Zelda, I mean, what do you need me to say? It's an excellent game. It holds up. It's primitive compared to what came after. But it lays down a template that not only did the Zelda series do a ton with, but also many, many, many other games by Nintendo and by others came along and used it. And to this day, there are games. Ubisoft has a game, I can't think of what it's called. Immortals Phoenix Rising. That is just Zelda Breath of the Wild. But they did some of their own stuff with it. My understanding is this there's some gacha game, free-to-play gacha game that people like. The kids like. I can't think of what it's called off the top of my head. That also really borrows a lot of its aesthetic and stuff from Breath of the Wild. Steal from the best, great artists steal, and this is who you should steal from if you're gonna steal. So now we're diving into Yoshi. You can't even quite see the box there, but trust me, we're gonna go into Yoshi, which is a falling block puzzle game, and it's kind of a weird one. Let's start the timer. Count it down. 30 minutes on the clock, and we're diving into Yoshi by Nintendo. Do one player, it's the only type I can. There's 2 game types, A type and B type. Set different levels, set your speed low or high. I'm going to start on low, but I don't think I'm going to do that long, because like I said, I don't remember this game being thrilling. And 3 types of background music. Let me take them in. Mushroom's okay. This is good, town music for a JRPG. I don't know that it's a great choice for background puzzle game music. What do you got, Starman? Yep, that's not even close. We're playing with Starman music. It's hardly a question. This is not like Dr. Mario, where Fever and Chill are both fantastic, iconic pieces of video game music. Alright, let's try A-type level 1 speed low. I don't think we're going to do this long, but I think we'll be going back. So, the gimmick here is that you don't control the falling blocks at all. And you can't control them until they fall. You can speed them up with the down. There's no hard drop. I'm pressing up right now. It doesn't come down. And then both A and B do the same thing, because I'm adjusting Mario with left and right. And then I can move them. And then they become things when they come down. And if I match them, they just vanish. Just matching pairs disappear. That in and of itself, like, you can see it's a limited mechanic because it's too easy and there's no chain reaction opportunity. Now and then you've seen an eggshell fall. That's where the game at least offers you something to work with. And yet, I'll show you what it is. So the bottom shell doesn't just disintegrate when it hits the ground. And I can start collecting other falling items. And then, if I put a top shell, it squishes them all down, and then a little Yoshi appears and goes, "Rrr, rrr," and that's it. We're on level 1. I don't know how I get to the next level. Does my score just get high enough that it advances? Let's find out before we move on to at least faster. Maybe find out what the story is with Mode B. I can't play 2-player because I am only one man, but we could at least take a look and try to get a sense of what it might be like. But yeah, the things drop. Let me try to really build this egg up. Oops. Okay, you know what? Right now, I do kind of see how, especially when you're trying to do what I'm trying to do right now. Oh, trying to build the egg up. I'm working against myself by doing that. But one thing I know is the more tiles. Oh, I didn't get more tiles than I did the first time. When you get more, I think you can get a bigger Yoshi to appear if you capture more tiles in the egg. And that's it. What about a smaller Yoshi? Yep, just a little baby Yoshi, kind of exactly like in Super Mario World. In those levels where you find a baby Yoshi and need to feed it to get it to grow into an adult Yoshi. Ah, now I'm on level 2. It's just score based. Yoshi on the right there is keeping track of how many eggs I've filled. And yeah. I'm not confident we're going to be plumbing any additional depths in Yoshi. But let's carry on. At least I will go until I get a larger Yoshi created. I will try to max it out, play right on the edge, because I do believe the failure state is if you overfill the top of the bin. Okay, so now my egg is ready. I'm just waiting for a top of the shell to spawn. Not a bottom of the shell. Need a top. Uh-oh. Ah, there it is. There's my moment. Boom. Well, not a bigger Yoshi, but he had wings. And that's it. Okay. Can't play anymore. Oh, wow, look at that. When you pause, they don't want you to pause and then strategize. You know, they're keeping you honest. Your screen goes blank. Okay. That is low A-type game. Low speed, starting at low level. Let's try a B-type game, see how that goes. It remembered my music preference when I only reset. I imagine it forgets if I turn the power off. Okay, what is B-type game on speed low? Bum ba dum bum. Ba bum 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 ba dum bum bum. Ba bum 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 ba dum bum. The music is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for my ability to get anything out of this. This is not Yoshi's Cookie, an excellent game that I suspect does hold up. A puzzle game with chain reactions, among other things. But I mean, that's the big thing that you need, right? To really have fun with a puzzle game. With a falling block style puzzle game, you gotta be able to set up some cool things to happen and feel like, oh wow, look at all the things disappear. You gotta be able to get into danger and then pull it out at the last moment. And with the egg mechanic being the only alternative to eliminate a pair, it's just not there. So far, I can't see how this B game is different at all from A game, except that the background is a different color. But let's keep at it, and I guess we'll find out. I'm not actually confident we'll even find out. Maybe we won't. Okay. Well, it's turning the heat up on me by just bombarding me only with small shells. Or bottom shells. No top shell. I can't close off my eggs and clear some space. So this is okay. Like, it's good that it's putting me in a tight spot, because otherwise, what am I gonna do? How am I getting anything out of this? It's not pushing me a little. It's not pushing me that hard. Let's see, when do I achieve level 2? No idea. It had happened by now, score-wise, in standard game. So it's not just score. Is it how many eggs I managed to close off? Well, 5 would be an obvious number. That didn't take me up to level 2. Is it just a higher score threshold? That could be our next theory. Let's see what happens if I get to 1,000. 1,000 points. One more pair, and I'll be there. 5 points per pair. 1,000 didn't put me up a level. 10 eggs? At a certain point, it might be more interesting. We'll learn more and faster if I just go to Wikipedia. Even if that's watching a guy Wikipedia a game. Because the game itself is not... Wow, that's great content. The game he was playing was so dull that instead we watched him go on Wikipedia. Yeah. And I do have childhood memories of this game. Exclusively, like, I'm picturing my buddy's basement. His family's place. And I know I had it rented. He was recovering from the chicken pox. He was fine, so I hadn't seen him in a little bit. And was finally allowed to have visitors. So I went in. Okay. Now I'm in peril. I've gone all the way up to the top. Can I save it like this? Yes. So you can make a match with the piece that is above the fold, so to speak. Good to know. Oh, oops. There's 8. Alright, we're gonna get to 10 eggs. And if that doesn't take me to level 2, I'm gonna accept defeat on theorizing. And I'm just gonna brute force it, so to speak, by going to Wikipedia and looking it up. Get the answers that people crave. Oops. I didn't need or want to make that match. Because I had the opportunity to keep filling up the egg. Which, I mean, I guess I might as well do. I don't know what the reward is besides more points, and I don't know what the points are doing for me because I'm still not up another level on this B-type game. Is the point of B-type that it never goes up? Is it just an endless mode? With no advancing difficulty or speed? I don't know. I haven't a clue. This would not have been mysterious to us as children because the instruction manual would have answered that question. Yoshi's Cookie is similar in the sense that it is also like a clear the space puzzle game. And Dr. Mario is very similar. It's a falling blocks puzzle game. Well, I've lost. Game over. I managed to lose before I found out. The big difference with Yoshi's Cookie, which is on SNES, but I think also on NES, and I think also on Game Boy. The thing about Yoshi's Cookie is that it's awesome. And this is not awesome. It's alright, I guess. Before we dive in a little deeper, I'm just gonna Wikipedia this because I'm so curious what the story is. What is B mode? What's the difference? Wikipedia is not coming through for me though. Well, okay, let me refresh. Alright. Okay, one last try at getting Wikipedia to load a page. No. Okay, fine. The information's too dangerous. They don't want the people to know. So, what are we gonna do? Let's turn it up. Let's start at level 3 on high. Let's see what it's like to play with this sleepy ass music. Oh. I have now clicked on the quick link in the search bar. If it ever loads the page, I'll tell the good folks at home what's going on with this mode B that I'm not playing right now. Back in an A-type game. Okay. Right off the bat, you know what? This is already a little more fun because I've turned up the speed. I'm not sure what's the level speed distinction. I don't know. Wouldn't the levels just be it goes faster? Is it deliberately crueler to you in the random drops? I don't know. I haven't a clue. Oh, it's loaded. Alright, pausing. Very quickly. Boom. Yep. Ba-boom. Eggshell. Falling top half. Not interesting. A-type, the game is played indefinitely until the player gets game over. In B-type... Oh, you have to fully clear the field. Okay. That's something. Okay. Let's... Ooh. You give a shout out in one of your broadcasts to anyone watching previous broadcasts. Shout out for Dreamstar if you're watching at the start. I was not there. So... That's it. That's a shame. But there. That's good marketing because now I got to check out all the recent ones to find out. Okay. Now that I know there's an objective to B-type, rather than just an endless mode. I always find objective-based modes better So let's put the difficulty... Put the speed at high, but just start with level 1. See how the mushroom music affects my mood as I play. Let's go. Now that I know what I'm trying to accomplish, I can work towards it. Which is helpful. Okay. Yeah, this has opened up the game a fair bit because now that emptying the screen is the goal, there's a lot more to think about because you're trying to arrange for the current blocks that are falling, but you also have to think ahead to what you want to do with the next blocks coming down so that you can be ready for them. So right there, the game, like for example, I should have saved that blooper. And I want to keep these bloopers and boos free. Actually, let's do the boo that's on top of the Goomba. Okay, here we go. Suddenly, things are happening. One potential frustration I can already detect is that the game is, of course, going to require me to clear the thing while giving me a random sampling of 2 falling blocks. So I'm, to a strong degree, very much at the mercy of the selection of blocks for if I'm going to clear the field, right? But, you know, we got to do what we can. So I will, let's do that. And I'll do that. And then I can get this egg out of there. Now the eggs feel like... Now it's more than I just get to see a Yoshi and get some more points and move the egg counter up. It feels more like I did something. But now I have an odd number of pieces. How can I ever clear the field when the new blocks only come in pairs? I suppose we'll find out. Can I do it? Is it feasible? I don't know that it is. Oof. It's definitely not feasible if I'm gonna make doofus moves like that. Yeah, they fall at the same speeds. There was no saving that. At least, yeah, okay. B mode is at least, even if achieving the goal seems frustrating and somewhat beset by randomness, it at least, the clarification of the objective does, give you a bit more of gives you a sense of purpose. Go figure. Knowing your purpose can give you a better sense of purpose. And yes, and then there is some trickiness to getting this stuff to come out the way you want it to. Gonna eliminate both these falling Goombas, but I can't get both of the piranha plants as they fall. So I guess when you have only one at the bottom, you want to make sure that if you have a blank space. There we go. Cleared it. Satisfying. Okay. There. I've unlocked the secret of how Yoshi can be fun. You need to play B-type. Maybe turn the speed up a little. And then we had a cool, it's primitive now. There's nothing exciting or flashy, but any interstitial was thrilling to me as a kid. I loved, even just Pac-Man. The original Pac-Man, where there are, maybe 2 or 3 scenes. The scenes where you just see, the ghost chase Pac-Man, and then Pac-Man comes back and he's big now and he's chasing the ghosts. Not a lot going on in those, but they're really cool. I didn't play Miss Pac-Man until much later as a kid. That would have blown my mind. It tells a story about Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man and how their love came to be when they met, when Pac-Man Jr. was born, and all those, magical special moments in the Pac family's life. Not optimal. Not optimal. My placement here, 2 stacks of 2. It's obviously not the setup that you want if you're trying to clear the field. We're still dealing with 2 stacks of 2. We're going to get one of them down. Make sure the Goomba drops in an empty column. Eliminated both of those. And the 2 that I need to eliminate are not the 2 that I have coming for me. And again. Yeah, so there's a lot I just like. A big part, it seems, of B-type is wear it down, and then you gotta hold the line and just wait for the random number generator to cooperate. Like it just did. Boom. That one went a lot faster. It's because I'm getting better at the game? No! It's just the random number generator cooperated sooner. This time, Mario rides Yoshi up. Palette limitations. Mario is white as a sheet because he's sharing. I'm actually a little confused about why they did the palette this way. What obliged them to do so? But obviously Yoshi is the same color as the background, as the green. And then they share a red for Yoshi's boots and Mario's clothes. And then the black is an actual color rather than a null. And then there's white. So yeah, there's more than one palette because any sprite in a NES, in the NES, can only have 3 colors. Or is the green the null color? Is the background all green and the white lines are, I don't know. But it really seems likely that this could have looked better. Okay, so we advance through the levels. Stuff gets a little, the stack is higher at the start, which puts more pressure on. Alright, I'm prepared to say that endless mode Yoshi seems terrible. But B mode is fun. And in fact, I can't say for sure because it would be easy for me to insert this. I remember now thinking this as a child, but I think yes. Ooh, that was a cool trick. Do you see what I did there? I eliminated a first thing, and then because now the stack was lower, I swapped it and caught the other one too. That's a high level move, I think, in Yoshi, because I don't know how many different cool moves you could possibly do in Yoshi. So I could easily be just inserting this into my mind, but I think that I'm now remembering that even as a kid, I just wanted to do B mode. Because I didn't like endless modes, and I still don't. Most of the time in these falling block puzzle games. Done. And I do like things where I feel like I can win, and I like interstitials. So this works for me way more than the others did. Yoshi eats a piranha plant. These interstitials are not much. A little tiny bit of different Mario iconography gets eaten every time. Like I said, I can't play any 2-player Yoshi because I don't have a second player here with me. But I do believe I'm correct when I say that 2-player Yoshi it's just a rate. You're both playing B mode, and you're just racing to see. Oh, that was not well played. You're just racing to see who can clear the field first. I don't believe that there's any kind of garbage. Like, you don't have any capacity to attack your opponent or do anything to them. It's not super lively. Oh dear. Oh no. I thought that at least the very tall stack was on an egg, and it totally isn't. So I wasn't even making progress towards a goal there by letting that build up. Pressure is on. I could really use some more egg pieces. Game. If you want to throw a guy a bone. Oof. Yeah, this one's filling up. I am finished. I mean, I'm not just yet, but I don't see this one. Maybe. Maybe, but probably not. Oh. Played myself. Okay. Cool. That was a challenge, finally. And I'm just gonna start at level 4 and give it another shot. We got 3 more minutes left. And then we're done for the day. I'm not doing a 4th game. I don't have 30 more minutes left of talking out loud in my voice, because I did a lot of talking out loud this week and today as well before getting here. And now I've been talking an hour or so. Haven't blown out my larynx, which is good because that's a tool that I need to do my job. Gotta be able to talk to the engineers of tomorrow to tell them things. It's my job. Tell people stuff. I'm a teacher. So maybe that's an oversimplification of what teachers do. But it's the heart of it. I gotta show up. I gotta be funny. I gotta say things that are informative. I gotta be funny because, like, I teach technical writing to engineers. So I'm faced, there's some natural skepticism of why am I taking a writing course? I came to be an engineer. I should be doing math. Let's try to overcome. And charisma, to the extent that I've got it, is my tool. The main tool of my trade. And kind of repetitive with the outputs here, Yoshi. Goombas on Goombas on Goombas. Oh. 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 Oh dear. Yeah. Okay. There it is. You gotta play B-type Yoshi, and you gotta crank the difficulty up, and you gotta be willing to play on high speed, and then you've got something that you can have some fun with. You can experience some challenge while doing. And what more do we need from a video game? But something lively happening. No, I don't worry about it all. Like, I like when people watch, and I like when people participate in the chat. And, I'm excited whenever I get a new follower. But yeah, whatever. Like, I'm doing it because it's fun. I have no expectation I'm going to get famous. And obviously, if I was going all out for views, I don't think I would be playing Yoshi for 30 minutes. I don't think I would be playing Ultima 5 Quest of the Avatar on the weekends, right? Like, do what you like, and if other people like it, that's cool. But what else is there to say? Just don't worry about it. The views will come or they won't. If the only reason you're doing it is to get views, you're not getting views, ranting about it seems like not the answer. Seems like the answer is to get a different hobby. Oh my. Yeah, like, I totally like when people watch. But it doesn't make me mad if they don't. I do sometimes wish that, I do know when I look at my analytics, the stream that we do here, me and my buddies, mostly me, that gets the most views, like the most unique viewers tuning in, it's always the wrestling show, but nobody sticks around for it. And I think it's the gimmick of doing the recaps of like, we're not always talking about the game we're playing, we're talking about wrestling shows, but because nobody's tuning in expecting a wrestling recap show, and they very well may just like not know what we're talking about or care. So people don't stick around, and that's sometimes like my buddy really like Greg especially really enjoys doing the recaps, and I have fun doing them too. But I do think that we could retain an audience for wrestling video games better if we stopped doing as much talking about contemporary wrestling. And yeah, so that's one thing where I'm just like, come on, man, we could get better analytics here if we put a little more effort into holding an audience. But other than that, you know what? Like, my Ultima 5 streams have attracted a larger audience than I ever would have dreamed in my entire life. Never would have expected. I wasn't doing it to get views. I was doing it to shame myself into not playing too much Ultima. And it's worked at that, but I was shocked that there were people who cared to watch, and very happy that there are people because it's fun. I'm done. I'm cooked. Alright. Level 4 is my Everest in Yoshi, but I've also found a point in Yoshi where I can have fun. And the most recent times I played Yoshi, I didn't find anything fun. So, hooray! Some actual straight-up discovery after, like, there was nothing for me to learn about tennis or about the Legend of Zelda. But I made a simple gimmick and I gotta follow it, so I had to play them. But this, I got something new out of, and you at home, whether you're watching it here or watching on the eventual YouTube channel that I'm getting closer and closer to finally setting up. I just want to make a banner. I just want to have a nice banner. It doesn't even have to be nice. I just want to make it myself and have it be complete. And I'm getting there. But if you're watching this, I hope you pick something up that you can do with Yoshi to have fun. Because that's where the fun is lying. It's in B mode on high speed. So that's all for tonight. I'll be back on the weekend playing Ultima. And I'm thinking about doing something on Monday. Maybe another round of these. Or maybe I've been playing both Slay the Spire and Monster Train lately. Monster Train, they're both deck building roguelikes. And Monster Train shows so much Slay the Spire influence that it sent me back to start playing Slay the Spire again after I picked up Monster Train recently. And I was thinking maybe if I had enough time to do a run on each of them, maybe that could be an interesting compare and contrast. Anyway, different things I might possibly do on Monday if I find the time. But I'm here on the weekend. Oh, Cupa! Yeah, you missed the whole show, buddy. But the replay, the video on demand, will be available in a moment. And, round 1 was tennis. So, not a game with a ton of depth, even though it's pretty fun. And the second one was Legend of Zelda. Game that nobody needs. Oh, Cupa, I'm sorry. I had a feeling, because I fired it up, and I saw there was one viewer as I was like playing the intro song. And I thought, I wonder if that's Cupa. And then OBS just was like, disconnected. And the Twitch thing went haywire. And it took me a minute to get it fired back up. So I think I got the most out of, oddly enough, playing Yoshi, which is what I just wrapped up with. Because I remember Yoshi, and I didn't remember it being much fun at all. Especially when I played it as an adult. I remember kind of liking it as a kid, and every time I played it recently, not thinking much of it. And then here, I found the mode that is pretty fun for Yoshi. So that might be worth a rewatch. And Zelda, I did the Legend of Zelda commercial rap. So that part might be funny if you can find that in the 30 minutes of Zelda. But I'm done, because if I talk much more, I'm going to blow my voice out. And I got streams due on the weekend, and I have a job where I got to talk to people in a theater where they're all looking at me. Don't want my voice cracking during that. So we're done here, folks. If you just showed up at the end, thank you for coming. Chumbawampa, thanks for hanging out. Anyone who tuned in at any point, if you're here right to the end, if you're gone and I don't know why I'm addressing you, thanks. It's a lot of fun playing video games. It's a thing I like to do, but it's even more fun when there's folks hanging out here and talking aloud for some reason. So, I'll be back tomorrow, and until I'm back, you take care of yourselves and be kind to everyone you meet.